The lights dim. The projector stops. 3 million moviegoers, suddenly homeless. In August 2019, a company that promised unlimited movies for $99.95 a month simply vanished overnight, burning through $700 million in investor money and leaving subscribers staring at error messages where their dreams used to be. Gone, just like that. But how does a startup go from 20,000 users to 3 million subscribers in 10 months, only to collapse faster than a house of cards? This is the story of MoviePass, the subscription service that promised to democratize cinema, revolutionize Hollywood, and give every American unlimited access to the silver screen. Instead, it became the greatest theater of dreams ever staged, where the audience paid to watch, the performers paid to perform, and the only ones who didn't pay were the ones pulling the strings. This is the rise and fall of the most expensive movie ticket in history, a ticket that cost 3 million people their trust and investors their fortunes. Welcome to the Theater of Dreams, where every show ends the same way.
The year was 2011. Barack Obama was president. Netflix was still mailing DVDs, and two black entrepreneurs had a radical idea. What if going to the movies didn't have to break the bank? Stacy Spikes wasn't your typical Silicon Valley founder. Former Miramax executive, a man who understood stories, who knew that behind every great film was someone willing to take a massive risk. His partner, Hemant Watt, was the tech visionary, the one who saw algorithms where others saw ticket stubs. Together, they launched MoviePass in the most unlikely venue, a theater in Times Square, the same theaters where dreams are born and sometimes die. The original model was elegant, $50 a month, unlimited movies, a simple red card that worked like magic. We wanted to democratize cinema, Spikes would later say. Make it so that a single mother in Ohio could take her kids to see the same blockbuster as a Manhattan executive. But 2011 wasn't ready for their dream. The iPhone was still new, mobile payments were clunky, people still bought tickets the old-fashioned way. The theater of dreams they were building? It had plenty of seats, but in those early days, the audience just wasn't there yet. By 2016, MoviePass was struggling, 20,000 subscribers, burning cash like a projector burns film. The original founders watching their vision fade to black. That's when the new players entered the theater. Mitch Lowe, Netflix and Redbox veteran, a man who understood subscription models, who looked at MoviePass and saw potential. His pitch was simple: let me run this thing. Behind Lowe came Ted Farnsworth, CEO of Helios and Matheson Analytics, a man with a public company, and an appetite for the spotlight. They looked at the empty theater Spikes and Watt had built, at the elegant subscription model, at the red cards gathering dust, and they saw something the original founders couldn't. Not a sustainable business, not a path to profitability, but a marketing gimmick so powerful it could pack every seat in America. The handover happened in summer 2017. Spikes and Watt were out. The new management was in. The Theater of Dreams was about to get new management. What they built over 6 years was about to be demolished in 6 months. But first, they had to sell tickets. And in August 2017, they dropped the price from $50 to $9.95, the same price as a single movie ticket, for unlimited films. The lights dimmed, the curtain rose, and the greatest show on earth was about to begin.
August 15th, 2017, 9 a.m. Eastern. The announcement went live, $9.95, unlimited movies, one per day, every day. The internet exploded. Within 24 hours, MoviePass servers crashed, not from a technical glitch, but from pure overwhelming demand. 150,000 new signups in 3 days. It was like someone had announced free gold at every theater in America. People were camping outside Best Buy to get the MoviePass card. Reddit threads went viral. Twitter exploded with screenshots of movie tickets. The Theater of Dreams wasn't just filling up, it was overflowing. Mitch Lowe watched the numbers climb. 20,000 subscribers in January, 400,000 by October, 1 million by Christmas. We didn't expect this, he'd later admit. But they should have, because MoviePass had cracked the ultimate code. They'd made the impossible irresistible. For the price of a single movie ticket, you could see 30 movies, premium formats, IMAX, 3D, every blockbuster, every indie film, every late-night screening. College students were seeing 3 movies a day. Retirees were making MoviePass their full-time hobby. Families were planning entire weekends around theater hopping. The red cards became cultural currency. Social media filled with MoviePass hauls, people posting photos of 40, 50, 60 movie stubs per month. But here's what nobody was asking. How does a company make money by losing money on every single customer? The answer was simple. They didn't. Behind the applause, behind the standing ovation, the Theater of Dreams was hemorrhaging cash. Every MoviePass subscriber was costing the company money. The average American sees 4 movies per year. MoviePass subscribers were seeing 4 movies per week. But Wall Street didn't care about math. They cared about growth. Helios and Matheson's stock price soared from $2 to $32 per share. Ted Farnsworth posed for magazine covers. Mitch Lowe gave keynotes about disrupting entertainment. They were the stars of their own show, and the audience was buying every seat. By February 2018, 2 million subscribers. By June 2018, 3 million subscribers. MoviePass wasn't just a subscription service. It was a movement, a revolution, the Netflix of movie theaters. AMC theaters panicked and tried to block MoviePass cards. Regal Cinemas scrambled to launch competing services. Hollywood executives called emergency meetings about the MoviePass effect, because something unprecedented was happening. Theater attendance was actually growing. For the first time in years, the Theater of Dreams had become the hottest ticket in America. But in their box office, in their accounting departments, in their board meetings, the numbers were telling a different story. For every $1 of subscription revenue, they were spending $5 on movie tickets. The red cards that customers loved, they were funded by investor money. $300 million in funding, $400 million, $500 million. The theater was packed. The show was a hit. The audience was ecstatic. But backstage, the production was collapsing. Every full theater was another step closer to bankruptcy. Every happy customer was another nail in the coffin. Every success story was actually a failure story in disguise. The Theater of Dreams had become the Theater of Nightmares, and the nightmare was just beginning. Because when you promise everyone everything for almost nothing, eventually someone has to pay, and that someone wasn't going to be the customers. Spring 2018. The theater was still packed, but backstage, something was breaking. The first cracks appeared where no one was looking, in server logs, error messages, customer service tickets. My MoviePass card isn't working. The app says no movies available. I can't check into theaters. These weren't bugs, they were features, because MoviePass had discovered something terrifying. Their most loyal customers were killing them. There was a user in Chicago seeing 47 movies per month, a couple in Los Angeles who turned MoviePass into a full-time job, college students treating theaters like their personal Netflix queue. Every swipe of that red card was a dagger in the company's chest. So they started throttling, secretly. Peak times? Sorry, no available show times. Popular movies? Technical difficulties. Heavy users? Cards mysteriously stop working. The Theater of Dreams was becoming the Theater of Lies. Internal emails leaked later would reveal the truth. We need to train our customers to use the service less. Can we make the app more difficult to use? What if we just don't show certain movies? But customers weren't trained animals. They were paying customers, with receipts, with screenshots, with growing suspicion. Reddit threads exploded with complaints. MoviePass is blocking showtimes. My card was declined for no reason. This feels like fraud. Meanwhile, in the C-suite, panic was setting in. Ted Farnsworth stared at burn rate reports that looked like horror movie scripts. $20 million per month, $30 million per month, $45 million per month. Going up, always up. The stock price that had soared to $32 started its descent. $25, $18, $12. Wall Street was asking uncomfortable questions. When will you be profitable? How is this sustainable? What's your actual business plan? The answers were creative. We'll negotiate better rates with theaters. We'll sell customer data. We'll become profitable through scale. But the real answer, there was no answer. The Theater of Dreams had been built on quicksand, and the quicksand was starting to shift. Movie theater chains weren't negotiating. They were actively fighting MoviePass. AMC banned them outright. Regal raised their prices in MoviePass markets. Customer data? Turned out people don't like being stalked. Scale? Just meant losing more money at scale. By summer 2018, with 3 million subscribers, MoviePass was burning through $1 million per day, every day, including weekends, including holidays. The curtain was still up. The show was still playing. But behind the scenes, the set was collapsing, the actors were forgetting their lines, and the director was nowhere to be found. In the Theater of Dreams, the nightmare was writing itself. Scene by scene, loss by loss, lie by lie. July 2018. The theater was on fire. Not metaphorically. Literally burning money. $50 million per month. Every month. With no end in sight. Ted Farnsworth called emergency board meetings. Mitch Lowe stared at spreadsheets that made no sense. And somewhere in New York, Stacy Spikes watched the company he founded implode. The spiral had begun. First, they tried desperation moves. MoviePass Red Ventures, a scheme to charge users $5 extra for premium movies. Peak pricing. Surge pricing for popular showtimes. Limited releases, only showing movies no one wanted to see. Each change triggered customer revolt. Social media erupted. App Store reviews plummeted. The Theater of Dreams was becoming the theater of complaints. But the real disaster was happening in the background. MoviePass started running out of money. Midday. July 26, 2018. 3 p.m. Pacific Time. Cards stopped working. Nationwide. Not planned maintenance. Not a software update. They literally couldn't afford to pay for movie tickets. Emergency loan? $6.2 million. Just to keep the lights on. For one day. The next morning, they announced temporary technical difficulties. But internally, they knew the truth. This was the beginning of the end. August 2018. The restrictions got worse. No more unlimited movies. 3 movies per month. Only certain theaters. Only certain times. Only certain films. Everything they'd promised? Gone. The red cards that had made people feel like VIPs now worked less often than a broken slot machine. Customer service lines jammed. App Store ratings crashed. The Better Business Bureau opened investigations. But Ted Farnsworth? Still smiling for cameras. Still promising that adjustments would make everything better. Still claiming that MoviePass would be profitable. Someday. Behind closed doors, the conversations were different. How long can we keep this going? What if we just shut down? Are we going to prison? September 2018. More restrictions. No more premium formats. No more new releases. No more anything that people actually wanted to see. The Theater of Dreams had become the theater of broken promises. October 2018. They tried to pivot. MoviePass films. Content creation. Original programming. Instead of fixing their core business, they decided to compete with Netflix, with zero revenue, burning millions per day, and a customer base that hated them. November 2018. Subscriber exodus. From 3 million to 2.5 million, to 2 million, to 1.5 million. Each departing customer was a relief and a disaster. Relief because they cost money. Disaster because without subscribers, there was no story to tell investors. December 2018. Stock price, $0.07, down from $32, a 99.8% decline. But they kept going, and going, and going, like a horror movie that doesn't know when to end. January 2019. New restrictions, new limitations, new broken promises. February 2019. More emergency funding, more desperate pivots, more lies to customers. March 2019. April 2019. May 2019. Each month brought new horrors. Cards declining at theaters, customers unable to see movies they'd already selected, app crashes during peak times. The theater of dreams had become the theater of cruelty, where paying customers were treated like freeloaders, where promises were made to be broken, where every day brought fresh humiliation. And still, they kept the curtain up, because admitting failure meant admitting fraud, because shutting down meant facing investors, because stopping the show meant the show was over. The spiral had become a death spiral, but in the theater of dreams, even death scenes have to be dramatic. And MoviePass, they were saving their most dramatic scene for last.
August 2019. FBI raids, SEC investigations, congressional hearings. The curtains were finally pulled back, and what America saw was ugly. The Department of Justice filed criminal charges, securities fraud, conspiracy to defraud investors, wire fraud. Ted Farnsworth and Mitch Lowe weren't just incompetent, they were criminals. The emails surfaced first, internal communications that read like confessions. The unlimited plan is a temporary marketing gimmick. We know this model doesn't work. We're just trying to inflate the stock price. Every public statement about disrupting entertainment, they knew it was a lie. Every promise about future profitability, they knew it was impossible. Every claim about revolutionizing cinema, they knew it was fraud. The theater of dreams hadn't been a theater at all. It had been a con job, with 3 million victims and a $700 million price tag. But the reveal went deeper. Documents showed that Ted Farnsworth had used company money for personal expenses, private jets, luxury cars, and, according to court filings, payments to escort services. While subscribers couldn't see movies, the CEO was living like a movie star. The Federal Trade Commission joined the party. Charges of deceptive practices, failure to protect customer data, lying about service capabilities. Those technical difficulties that plagued users? Completely intentional. MoviePass had developed an algorithm designed to make the service unusable. If you saw too many movies, they'd block your favorite theaters. If you checked in too often, they'd hide popular showtimes. If you complained too much, they'd just deactivate your account. The red card wasn't magic, it was a weapon, designed to extract subscription fees while preventing actual service. Worse yet, the data collection. MoviePass wasn't just tracking what movies you saw. They were tracking where you went before movies, where you went after, what you bought, where you lived, where you worked. They were selling detailed behavioral profiles to anyone willing to pay. Your movie preferences were just the beginning. They knew your entire life pattern. And when journalists asked about privacy, they lied about that too. The court documents painted a picture of systematic deception. Lied to investors about user engagement. Lied to customers about service availability. Lied to theaters about payment capabilities. Lied to regulators about business practices. Lied to the media about financial health. Every single stakeholder had been deceived. But perhaps the cruelest lie was the founding story itself. The narrative that MoviePass was about democratizing cinema, making movies accessible to everyone. In reality, it was about making Ted Farnsworth rich. And when that didn't work, it was about delaying the inevitable as long as possible. The original founders, Stacy Spikes and Hamit Watt, they'd been written out of their own story, erased from press releases, ignored in media coverage, replaced by white executives who took credit for their innovation. Even the founding narrative was a lie. September 14th, 2019, the final performance. MoviePass sent a brief email to remaining subscribers. Service will be interrupted. No apology, no explanation, no acknowledgement of the millions of people they'd betrayed. Just silence. The theater of dreams went dark. The projectors stopped rolling. The red cards became worthless pieces of plastic. And in courtrooms across America, the real show was just beginning. Because in the theater of dreams, the finale isn't always the end. Sometimes, it's just the beginning of justice. Ted Farnsworth would plead guilty. The company would file for bankruptcy, and Stacy Spikes would eventually buy back his creation. But for 3 million MoviePass subscribers, the damage was done. Trust broken, dreams shattered. They'd paid for unlimited movies. What they got was a masterclass in corporate fraud. The most expensive education in America, and they never even had to apply.
September 14th, 2019, 11:47 p.m. Eastern. The last MoviePass card declined. Not with fanfare, not with announcements, not with explanations, just silence. Error message. Service temporarily unavailable. But there was nothing temporary about it. The theater of dreams had gone dark forever. In Chicago, a college student stared at her phone. She'd built her entire social life around MoviePass. 47 movies in 1 month, her record, her pride. Now, nothing. In Los Angeles, a retired teacher held her red card. She'd seen 300 movies in 2 years, every genre, every theater, her window into worlds she'd never known. Now, closed. In New York, Stacy Spikes read the news online. The company he'd founded, the dream he'd nurtured, the vision he'd been forced to watch others destroy. Dead. But the collapse wasn't just digital. It was human. Customer service calls flooded in, thousands of them, all asking the same question. What happened to my subscription? No one answered. The phone lines had been disconnected, the support staff had been fired, the offices had been emptied. 225,000 paying subscribers, down from 3 million, became zero overnight. But they weren't just numbers. They were people who trusted, who'd believed, who'd paid monthly fees right up until the end. The final charges processed on September 13th, $9.95, $14.95, $19.95, for a service that died the next day. Helios and Matheson Analytics filed for bankruptcy 4 months later. $700 million in investor losses, $300 million in debt, $0 in assets worth mentioning. The stock that had peaked at $32 per share, delisted, worthless, a reminder of how dreams can become nightmares. In corporate conference rooms, the furniture was liquidated, the computers sold for scrap, the red card inventory thrown away. Tons of plastic promises in dumpsters. MoviePass employees cleaned out their desks. Some had believed in the mission, had worked 80-hour weeks trying to fix the unfixable, had lied to customers because their bosses told them to. Now they faced unemployment, and the knowledge that their last 2 years had been spent building a house of cards. The theater chains they'd claimed to revolutionize, AMC's stock price rose, Regal's attendance stabilized, Cinemark launched its own subscription service. They'd learned from MoviePass's mistakes: sustainable pricing, realistic expectations, honest marketing. The movie theaters survived. The customers moved on. The investors wrote off their losses. But MoviePass? The credits rolled, the lights came up, the theater emptied, and in the silence that followed, all that remained was the echo of what could have been. The theater of dreams, where the only thing unlimited
was the disappointment. The theater stayed dark, but the conversations were just beginning. Congressional hearings, SEC investigations, FBI raids, criminal trials. Ted Farnsworth pleaded guilty in January 2025. 20 years maximum prison sentence for securities fraud, 5 years for conspiracy. A $700 million lesson in corporate greed. Mitch Lowe settled with the FTC, banned from working at any company handling consumer data. His Netflix and Redbox legacy tainted forever. From subscription pioneer to subscription pariah. But the real echoes weren't in courtrooms. They were in culture. MoviePass became a verb. To MoviePass something meant to offer the impossible, to promise everything, to deliver nothing, to burn other people's money while pretending to be a genius. Business schools added MoviePass case studies. How to destroy $700 million in 18 months. MBA students analyzed the fraud, the warning signs, the red flags investors ignored. Because the money wasn't just lost, it was stolen. From retirement funds, from pension accounts, from people who trusted Wall Street. The 3 million subscribers, they filed class action lawsuits, seeking refunds, seeking damages, seeking justice. Most got nothing. You can't get blood from a stone. And MoviePass was a very expensive stone. But the cultural damage ran deeper. Trust in subscription services plummeted. Every new unlimited offer was met with skepticism. Is this another MoviePass? Became the default response to any deal that seemed too good to be true. Streaming services adjusted their marketing. No more promises of disruption. No more claims about revolutionizing entertainment. No more unlimited anything. The gig economy took notes. If unlimited movies for $10 doesn't work, maybe unlimited anything for cheap doesn't work. Theater chains launched their own subscription services. AMC A-List, $24.95 for 3 movies per week. Regal Unlimited, $23.50 for unlimited movies. Cinemark Movie Club, $10.99 for 1 movie plus discounts. Sustainable pricing, realistic expectations, honest business models. They'd learned from MoviePass's corpse. Meanwhile, in a corner office in Harlem, Stacy Spikes was plotting his return. The original founder, the man whose vision had been stolen, who'd watched his company become a punchline. In 2021, he bought the MoviePass name back, for pennies on the dollar, from the bankruptcy court. His new version launched in 2022. No unlimited movies, no impossible promises, no red cards. Just a sustainable subscription service that does what it says, charges fair prices, and treats customers like humans. The Theater of Dreams, reborn. But this time, with someone who actually cared about movies. Not stock prices, not data harvesting, not investor presentations. Just movies. The way it should have been, from the beginning. In the Theater of Dreams, sometimes the sequel is better than the original.
The lights came up, the audience filed out, but the questions remained. How does a dream become a nightmare? How does innovation become fraud? How does unlimited become nothing? The answer isn't complicated. It's human. 3 million people wanted something simple, affordable movies, a night out that didn't break the bank, entertainment without guilt. 2 founders wanted something pure, to democratize cinema, to make theaters accessible to everyone, to build something that mattered. But somewhere between vision and execution, the dream got hijacked by people who saw dollar signs instead of movie screens, stock prices instead of customer faces, marketing gimmicks instead of sustainable business. The Theater of Dreams became a theater of greed, where the show was more important than the substance, where growth mattered more than honesty, where promises were made to be broken. MoviePass wasn't a business failure, it was a moral failure, a failure of leadership, of integrity, of basic human decency. But maybe that's the real lesson. Not about subscription models, not about venture capital, not about tech disruption. About us. About what happens when we want something for nothing, when we ignore obvious red flags because the deal is too good to pass up. When we let our desire for unlimited everything blind us to basic economics.
3 million people signed up for MoviePass. Most knew it was unsustainable, but they signed up anyway, because unlimited movies for $10 was too tempting to resist. We were all complicit in our own disappointment. The real theater of dreams isn't MoviePass. It's America, where we're always looking for the next big thing, the next disruption, the next unlimited offer that will change our lives. And maybe that's okay, because sometimes dreams do come true. Sometimes disruption does work. Sometimes unlimited really is possible, but only when it's built on truth. Only when it's sustainable. Only when it treats people like humans, not numbers. The theater of dreams is still open. The lights are still on. The projectors are still rolling. But the next time someone offers you unlimited everything for almost nothing, remember MoviePass. Remember the red cards. Remember the 3 million dreams that became disappointments. And ask yourself, is this too good to be true? Because in the theater of dreams, usually it is.